You guys good? I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regular scheduled council meeting for the City of Elliot Lake, Monday, May 11th, 2015. The time is 7 o'clock. As far as roll call, all members are present. I'd like to ask if there's any declarations of conflict of interest at the moment. Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to declare check number 63372 on check right 042315-1 as payable to my employer, and I'd like to have it removed from the register.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Any other declarations? Councillor Sear. Thank you, Your Worship. I'd also like to declare check numbers 71890 and check number 63452 from check right number 050715-1, as those are checks payable to my employer. Thank you, Councillor Sear. Any other declaration of conflict of interest at the moment?
My head from Dwayne.
Once, twice, none?
Okay, approximately 5 minutes.
For adoptions of previous minutes, April 27th, 2015, regular. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Sear, seconded. Councillor Van Rooten. Is there any questions, qualms, queries? If there is none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 4.2, reading of resolutions passed following the closed session of April 27, 2015 council meeting. If you could, Ms. Sprague.
Thank you, Your Worship. The meeting came out of closed session at 8:54 p.m. and it was moved by Councillor Reinhardt, seconded by Councillor Nikiforuk, that bylaw number 1524, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease agreement with 1863150 Ontario Limited with respect to 7,000 square feet of commercial space located in Pearson Plaza at 40 Hillside Drive South, be passed. And then it was moved by Councillor Van Rooten, seconded by Councillor Sear, that bylaw number 1525, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease assignment agreement with Turner's Elliot Lake Limited with respect to 7,000 square feet of commercial space located in Pearson Plaza, be passed. We had a presentation from Mr. Turner, and then it was moved by Councillor Reinhardt, seconded by Councillor Sear, that the ad hoc Pearson Plaza Committee is hereby dissolved. The meeting went back into closed session at 9:02, came out, and then the meeting adjourned at 9:48 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Sprague. 5, public presentations, May 6, 2015. Presentation from Relay for Life coordinators. Update on Relay for Life taking place on June 13, 2015. Presentation from Ms. Jody Finnemore and Andrew Dobratz. If you would, please.
Basically, we've had in the past well over 100 attendees to the event, the registered riders, as well as probably another 100 to 200 folks just from the community that have stopped to check things out. We're making a few changes this year in that we're still doing our poker run, which will hopefully be over probably sometime around lunchtime this year as opposed to the entire day. Reason we're doing that is so that in the afternoon we can have a few more events in the parking lot. That'll be a lot more interesting for people out and about in the community to stop and participate and have a look around, such as some different bike skill games and contests, some music, a few vendors, a nice barbecue, and just different things for people to stop and see. So essentially, we're making sure, like we always do, that there'll still be access for the storefronts for people that want to go to the various stores there. We're encouraging local merchants, if they want to come out and do a sidewalk sale or participate in the event, that they're more than welcome to as well. And really, at the end of the day, we're just hoping for another successful event. It'll be our 4th annual event, and hopefully be many more to come, and I'll be standing here next year and the year after again and again, letting everybody know about the event. So it's just an open invitation, I guess, to everyone here in front of me, and also the community as a whole, to come on out, support another good event that helps promote Elliot Lake and brings visitors into our amazing town. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What time should I be there at?
If you want to come around 7:30, I'll be setting things up. Use a strong back. But yeah, the official registration time would be 8:30, and then around 9 a.m. I usually do my welcoming speech and everything. And yeah, if you wanted to show up, it'd be an honor. It'd be great to hand you the microphone and let somebody else do some talking for us. So that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Is there any questions from council? Councillor Van Roon?
Thanks for your presentation. It's just dawned on me that June 6th is D-Day, and the Legion's going to, so I just wondered if you...
I'm actually glad you mentioned that. I knew I forgot something. What we're going to do is, I know there's going to be a small little parade, and then, not a procession, that's the parade, but a little service at the cenotaph there. So what we're going to do is actually stop, and we'll honor that, actually, to make sure that, we're not interrupting anything, and of course, in, respect to everybody who participated in that. And then the other thing we'd like to do is, at the end of the rally each year, we usually do what's called the Thunder Run, for lack of a better term, where all the bikes just parade around town. In the past years, we've done it in memory and respect for some of the people that have lost the battle of the prostate cancer. So this year we're going to do it in respect and the anniversary for D-Day. So it all kind of ties in really well. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. So thank you.
Any other questions from council? There is none. Thank you very much for your presentation. 5.3, May 5th, 2015, presentation of petition to lower the flag when a soldier dies, presented by Mr. Roger Hatchie, if you would, sir.
Your Worship and members of Council, I have the privilege and honor of presenting this petition on behalf of the citizens of Elliot Lake and others. People from Barrie, Walford, the Sioux, and even Chilliwack, BC have signed the petition. Most people, when signing the petition, called it a no-brainer. What were they thinking on Council? This is a disgusting gesture. This is so sad, and so on with the comments I got. A flag is a symbol of our country, yet it is not our country. Canada is its people, not symbols, statues, or whatever. Lowering a flag for a fallen soldier says we, the people, acknowledge your sacrifice for your country. I will now read a letter from a veteran I got. Greeting council members. Having watched the council meeting last night on TV, I was terribly disappointed by the lack of support for your motion to amend the city bylaw to lower the national flag of Canada when a member of the Canadian Forces is killed while serving on active duty. Rather than the stipulated requirement, the service person having to be from Elliot Lake. A plan discussed it would be much more accurate. I would like to remind you of the proud historical support of the armed forces of our country. And you can begin by going to our beautiful cemetery in November and see the number of citizens buried there who will serve their country, each marked with a white cross and a poppy. Comrade Robert Manuel of our local Legion needs no introduction for all the dedication and memory of our Canadian veterans in history, including having our National Day of Remembrance set aside for our Battle of Vimy Ridge, and among his many accomplishments of honoring our veterans and those who served. The City of Elliot Lake passed a resolution acknowledging the Cold War for this great nation. Branch 561, our local Legion, and the Cold War inscribed on our cenotaph, again, a first for our nation. The support of our veterans from Elliot Lake is undisputable. I concur. Unfortunately, City Council dropped the ball last night when it failed to support the motion to honor our serving military members who lose their lives in the performance of their duty. To show my displeasure with your noble Welsh servicemen, without stating any valid reasons for doing so, I have today, this is the veteran, requested the President of 561 to take under consideration not to have any representatives from this council with the exception of Mayor Dan Marchesella, a veteran himself, or Councillor Luke Sear, who were made the motion to serve our armed forces members from being invited to any official Legion ceremony to honor our veterans. We do not need a photo op for those members of this council who do not support or honor our past or serving members of the armed forces. I can see no other possible way to forgive your cold, callous, and unthankful actions of last night other than to have one of the council members bring back the motion and table at the first available council meeting. them to fully support it, with full apologies for your lack of interest in support. At least with this, you can justify your lack of support for this motion to the citizens of our lake by verbalizing your position you take. Sincerely, Chuck Miles, a Canadian veteran. Now, having read that letter, I will tell you this. I was taught two things by my parents. One, to be respectful and do the right thing. Lowering the flag is the right thing to do. Now, after that letter, I know Councilor Nicofork has done her homework, as have I. She will quote a number of protocols for the flag, but nowhere in these protocols does it say we, the people of our lake, cannot lower our flag. It is our flag of policy, not anyone else's. I can tell you personally, when a soldier comes home from, when a soldier came home from Afghanistan, the flags at all federal and provincial and municipal buildings were lowered, despite these protocols. Even Rob Ford did it. I live in Valley Lake. The citizens want this flag to be lowered to honor the fallen soldiers. I don't care what they do elsewhere. We are asking for it. We demand it. This is the right thing to do. Remember, in addition to what Mr. Miles says, we have the UN Peacekeeping Day. And for crying out loud, our highway is named the Vivian Memorial Highway, thanks to Mr. Manuel. When you as a councillor die, the flag will be lowered for your service to the community. So why doesn't a soldier doing their service can not be given the same honor? We lower the flag at the miners' memorial for miners who died, for people with no connection to our lake. Even miners in China, the flag was lowered. I have two uncles on that wall who died. My dad nearly died in the mines. The wall is meant for us, but yet we still lower the flag for people across this world. So why not for a fallen soldier? I've been talking to Mr. Miles, and he has spoken to Councilor Reinhardt, Nicofork, and Van Roon, and told me your positions have not changed. I'm very disappointed in that. So I will appeal to Councilor Mann and Martin. Councilor Mann, I would publicly like to thank you for your kind words of advice you gave me after my father died. When your father died, the flag was lowered. I believe even if he wasn't a councilman, it should have been lowered because of his service to his community. He was truly a treasure for Valley Lake. Everywhere you look, your dad was there to help, selling raffle tickets and fruitcakes. I hated fruitcakes. Your dad did a great service in Canada because of the Shriners Hospital in Montreal and helping out young children, and it was truly deserved. Councilor Martin, to you I say I was truly impressed by your speech about the chamber. It was well thought out and the information was right on the money. It showed me that you're a person of the region and can think for yourself. Telling the chamber that they had done nothing to change their financial position was hitting the nail right on the head. There is no shame in doing the right thing. However, there is shame in not doing the right thing. I believe you two councillors can make the difference in our lake, how it is perceived by lowering the flag for fallen soldiers. Do you remember the stigma that happened to the Sioux when they were English only, and the flap that went across the country? Do you really believe our lake wants to be known for that place that didn't lower the flag for fallen soldiers and have that stigma? Remember also, with Phase 2 college law program coming on stream, this will indeed be very bad press for the city to not do this. Thank you for your time. Please reconsider your decision towards lowering the flag. I invite you to look at everyone in the gallery in their eyes who have served, have loved ones, or who just care, and tell them that you will not honor themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hatchie. Thank you, Mr. Hatchie. Is there any questions from council for our presenter? None? I noticed here it says that you have a petition.
Yes.
Can you tell us how many signatures there were?
I have almost 400.
400?
I would have more, but I was on vacation for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I will present that after so I don't interrupt your meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hatchie.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Nicofork.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hatchie, for your presentation, and I appreciate your views. I would like to ask you, are you aware of what the Legion protocol is with regard to half-masting the flag?
I believe, I can't say it offhand, but I believe that they do not lower it. But that does not say we cannot lower it. Am I correct?
The Legion nationally believes that the flag should only be lowered on one day throughout the year. and that should be Remembrance Day. Okay. That's not what the protocol that they actually follow. They do follow the protocol that's established through the Canadian Heritage Department, through the federal government, though.
Right, and it does not say we cannot lower it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions from council? Councillor Van Roon?
Thank you, Mr. Hashi. I just have one question for you for now. I have a little bit more to say on this issue later. How do you feel about using the death of our Canadian troops to advance yourself politically? As a political advancement?
I can say that it's not for me. The reason I did it is because there was a veteran after you lowered it out on the steps crying, saying, "What are you doing to our vets?" To suggest I'm doing this to further my political ambitions is totally wrong, and I will suggest that you apologize for that comment right now.
I'll tell you where it comes from. I was born in the military, raised in the military. My father was in the military. He was on standby to go to the Gulf War. He was absolutely furious that this council was being called dishonorable over a policy. The Canadian flag does not belong to Elliot Lake. It's not a municipal decision to make. I would recommend that you do your research a little bit further on the issue.
With all apologies to your father, and he has his own opinion, and I respect that. Just like some people refused to sign my petition because they thought it was degrading the symbolism of half-mast. I respect all people's options and views, but the Canadian flag belongs to the people, not to the government. That is our flag. The very flag that we have is in the museum right now by Lester Pearson. So, I respectfully respect your dad's opinion. I respect everyone else's opinions. I have done my homework. To say that I'm doing this to advance myself is totally false. I did this because it's the right thing to do, period.
Thank you, Mr. Hatchie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Oh, sorry, Mr. Hatchie. We have another question from Councillor Nikiforok.
Thank you, Mr. Hashi. Can you tell me how many other communities across Canada are half-masting the flag for all veterans and any veterans that are being killed in action across Canada?
To be honest, I do not know. But I do know on little St. Joe's Island, they have the discretion to do it, and they do. I talked to a council member there.
Can I respond? Yes. Thank you, Your Worship. I know myself personally, I have spent a fair bit of time trying to find out communities that have the established protocol within their municipalities, and I haven't been able to find any on that regard.
With all due respect, Councilor Nikiforok, I don't care what other communities do. I care what Elliot Lake does. Plain and simple.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
There's no correspondence. Mayor's report. All right. Your Mayor's report, May 11th, 2015. We'll start out with the trade show that was held May 1st to May 3rd. We had, I believe, 67 vendors and well over 2,500 people in attendance rolling through there over the three-day period. This year was one of the most successful trade shows yet, and I had the opportunity to attend more than once. It was different to see our arena, a place usually associated with hockey fans and sporting events, transformed into a hub for commerce, information, and social interaction. This year's show had something for everyone. If you're in the market to purchase cars, boats, trailers, or ATVs, there were vendors available to talk about their products. If If you're looking to do home renovations, many different trades are on hand to discuss their services. If you're interested to learn more about your community, there are many organizations available to speak to you in detail about what they're up to, such as the NWMO, Denison Environmental, Pee Wee Mountain, and the Business Incubator. This year's event also saw the Mississauga Park Moose on hand to entertain the children. Dunlop Lake Lodge had a dance party for the kids on Saturday and provided musical entertainment both Friday night and Sunday during the day. Algoma Health Unit brought in a ventriloquist to entertain the crowds as well. On behalf of myself and council, I'd like to congratulate the Elliot Lake and District Chamber of Commerce for doing a great job this year, and thank you for being a strong community partner. Next, CAMA. The Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators recognizes and celebrates the dedication and service to municipal government in the management capacity. Our new CAO, Mr. Jeff Renaud, has been recently acknowledged for his tenure and that of being a valued member of CAMA, and also for his work on the board of directors as a director at large. On behalf of the City of Elliot Lake and City Council, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Renaud for his professionalism and excellence in this field. Congratulations, Mr. Renaud. The Pearson Plaza. What will we see in the new development? Well, we know a Foodland, Turner's Department Store, Library, a Dollar Type Store, a food court with seating area. Construction crews should begin making their way to Elliot Lake by the end of this week, depending on permit approvals. And work will commence directly after the May long weekend, which is this weekend coming up. The City Council will be discussing passing a bylaw later on this evening for extended work hours on the site, and we hope that this will help to aid in the mall being open before Christmas. The next item is the anti-bullying rally. The march held Friday, May 8th was the first of its kind for Elliot Lake, and I'd like to thank everyone who helped coordinate this event and all who participated from Elliot Lake and our brothers and sisters from Serpent River First Nations. It takes a lot of courage to be able to tell your story, and I'm proud that myself and some of our councillors were able to attend and be a part of this rally. I believe that awareness and education are the only means of being able to end bullying for future generations. Maybe one day the human race across the globe will be able to follow the golden rule. Treat others as you wish to be treated yourself. I know next year this rally will be even larger of an event, and I'll continue to support it then. The next item is our spring cleanup week. This will be the week of May 25th to May 29th, and it is requested by the city that no materials be put out prior to May 23rd. Any hazardous waste can be delivered to the Public Works Department located at 3 Timber Road in the North Industrial Site all day May 27th, I believe. That's correct? Okay. Party Poppers. New business in Elliot Lake had its grand opening on Saturday with all of your party needs. This is located on Brunswick Walk next to the brew shop. Mudmen. The first show, being a part of our 60th anniversary, was last Saturday night. It was awesome. For those who attended, it was a little bit difficult to stay seated with this type of high energy performance. It'd be great to see them back again some year as part of the street dance, so you can actually get up and cut a jig, or whatever people do these days. Our 60th anniversary parade is going to be held Saturday, June 27th. This past Christmas parade was one of the best I've seen in many years. It's my hope that this summer's parade will have the same amazing turnout. It's not only a showcase of local businesses and services, but it's also a huge community morale booster. Registration can be done at the Civic Center until June 19th. And my last comment, happy belated Mother's Day to all of our moms out in the community. That's it for the mayor's report. There's no unfinished business. We'll move on to reports. 9.1, May 5th, 2015, report from the Bylaw and Planning Committee, permit use of parking lot number 2 for the Ride for Dad motorcycle rally event. Councillor Van Roon.
Thank you, Your Worship. We wish to advise that at the regular meeting of the Bylaws and Planning Committee held Monday, May 4th, 2015, the committee recommended the following resolution to Council. Resolution 23/15, that the request from Mark Hutchison for the use of parking lot number 2 on June 6, 2015, from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. for a motorcycle rally in support of the Ride for Dad initiative to raise money.
Opposed? That's carried. 9.2, May 5th, 2015, report from the Bylaws and Planning Committee, new niche wells at Woodlands Cemetery. If you would, Councillor Van Der.
We wish to advise that at the regular meeting of the Bylaw and Planning Committee held Monday, May 4th, 2015, the committee recommended the following resolution to Council. Resolution 25/15, that report CK 2015-9, updated April 30th, 2015, of the Director of Clerks and Planning Services be received, and that the quotations submitted by Sunset Memorial and Stone Limited in the amount of $63,503 plus HST for the construction of niche Columbaria Estate 1 with 72 niches, and the Chinook with 80 niches, for a total of 152 niches, be accepted, and that the funds for the beautiful enhancement, and it's going to provide, it's going to allow us additional time before we're going to require another niche. I look forward to seeing it done. I think it's going to be a beautiful place to go and visit your loved ones.
Thank you, Councillor Van Der. Any questions from Council? There is none. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. May 7, 2015, a memo from the City Clerk suspends certain provisions of the anti-noise bylaw to facilitate construction activity at Pearson Plaza site. If you would, Ms. Sprague.
Thank you, Your Worship. The municipality's anti-noise bylaw prohibits unnecessary noise, including construction and excavation activities arising between the hour of 6 p.m. and 7 a.m. of the next following day. The owner-developer of the Pearson Plaza property has advised that construction companies are anticipating that double shifts will be required in order to complete construction this year. It is recommended that Council consider passing a resolution to suspend certain provisions of the anti-noise bylaw to facilitate the construction of the Pearson Plaza site. And the resolution would read that the provisions of the municipality's anti-noise bylaw be suspended for the purposes of construction and excavation activities taking place at the Pearson Plaza site.
Thank you, Ms. Sprague. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Seer, seconder. Seconded
For discussion.
Second by Councillor for discussion. Any questions, qualms, queries? Councillor Mann?
Through you to the clerk, is Ms. Sprague, is there a specific time anticipated that this would end? You know, obviously this appears to be quite open-ended, which I have a little bit of concern for any of the neighboring homes in the area. I believe, you know, it's very important to get this done, but I think we need to be reasonable about our approach as well. So have they given any specific time? What do they mean by double shift? What time are they looking at ending in the evening?
I actually believe, sorry.
I don't have any.
I actually believe they weren't planning on working past 11, but it had also been noted that there's no more blasting to be done, so there'll be a lot of concrete pouring and paving and landscaping and stuff like that going on. So there's no real close by residence to the site itself. So it seems reasonable for this project to be expedited through the summer months so that we don't get bogged down come fall and winter. Councillor May?
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for that additional explanation. I guess now hearing that, I would be comfortable putting in an amendment to have an upset limit or a cap of 11 p.m. I'm really not that comfortable having it open-ended as it currently sits.
I'll second that. Okay, that amendment's seconded by Councillor Reinhardt. Any questions on that? None? All in favor of the amendment? So the amendment's carried. Any questions on the resolution itself? So the resolution, I guess, would read that the provisions of the municipality's anti-noise bylaw be suspended for the purposes of construction and excavation activities taking place at the Pearson Plaza site not to exceed the hour of 11 p.m. There we room for? Perfect. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. .4 May 6, 2015, memo from the Director of Finance, amendment to authorizing for signing authority for the payment of money. Ms. Halco, can you explain?
We require an amendment to the resolution for bank signing authorities for signing checks due to the recent appointment of a deputy treasurer and the retirement and hiring a new CAO. It is recommended that council pass the following resolution, that in accordance with their policy to have dual signatures from council and administration for the payment of money, Councillor Mann be authorized to sign checks and documents for the payment of money in the absence of the mayor or deputy mayor, and that the deputy treasurer or the chief administrative officer be authorized to sign in the absence of the city treasurer.
Moved by Councillor Reinhardt. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Martin. Is there any questions from council on this item? That was a pretty clear explanation, I guess. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Good go. .5 May 5th, 2015, report from the Chief Administrative Officer, request for flag raising from the Regroupement Association Francophone d'Ontario, RAFO. If you would, please, Mr. Renaud.
Thank you, Your Worship. As noted in the attached memo, the request was received, the request was vetted by our office, and we found it to be in compliance with the policy under the special request section, and as such has been brought forward to council for your consideration.
Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Sear, second by Councillor Mann. Do we have any questions here? No? Let's take a look through here. So, I have a question. It is the first time. What would the day be on here? It would be June 20th? Or the whole week, June 20th to 27th?
Your Worship, the request indicates that they are looking for the flag to be flown during the entire week.
Okay. Perfect. Any questions, qualms, queries? Councillor Nikiforok?
Yes, Your Worship, are we able to get an explanation of the special occasion for the flag raising during that time period? I know Ms. Ghislaine Desjardins is here this evening.
Good evening, Your Worship. I wasn't told I could make a presentation tonight because my requested was for a proclamation for the week and a raising of the flag in the two sites. I represent the group of Francophone Associations of Ontario and Elliot Lake. I am the chairperson. I have with me Suzanne Gauthier, who is our events coordinator. We are celebrating the 60th anniversary of Elliot Lake in grand style. We have a whole week of events. 4 different venues will be used during the week. And we have decided to show our community that Franco-Ontarians are a very different breed of French-speaking people, which is why we're celebrating St. John the Baptist Week in the Franco-Ontarian manner. Everything we'll be doing will be in both languages. Everybody's welcome to all our venues, and you'll be getting an example of what we do to celebrate Francophonie in Ontario. Je vais faire ma présentation dans les 2 langues, but I'll try not to repeat myself. Our first day of events for that week is at Mississauga Park. It's a picnic day for families, games for the children, a bonfire at night. On Monday of the same week, we also have a banquet for 300 of our pioneers of Francophone ancestry who were in Elliot Lake in the 50s and either are still here or have family members here. that venue is already full and it's sold out. On Wednesday night, which is the St. John the Baptist Day, we want to celebrate liquor-free in a concert from the group Swing, which is a Franco-Ontarian group. This will be music where nobody will want to sit down either. You'll be privy to a group that makes folk music and rock music within the same style. On Friday night, there's the Cinder Lake Supper and closing of all our events. We also have, after the Francophone concert, we have a party at the ski club, and that's for anyone who wants to stay up later than 9 o'clock, and Tim Hortons isn't big enough for that event, so we're going to the ski hill. And that is the summary of our events. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Elliot Lake first, and then the Francophone Week at the same time, which is why we need the flag raised. We had also asked for a proclamation, but I imagine that'll come at a later date because it couldn't be put together. The Franco-Ontarian flag is a legislated flag. It represents Franco-Ontarians, and it celebrates 40 years this year. September 25th will be the anniversary. Franco-Ontarians have been on this in Ontario for 400 years. Champlain was the first to meet the natives, and this is the celebration of 400 years as well. So this year, 400 registered flags in Ontario will be raised at the same time on September 25th. At this time, we'll have to make another request for an official flag raising and maybe have the flag put in front of City Hall. By the way, 44 municipalities have the flag in front of their municipal buildings. It does not mean that the municipality itself is bilingual. It's simply a raising of the flag. So if you'd honor us by raising the flag for that week, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions, qualms, queries from council? Councillor Sear, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. Merci, Madame. Je suis très excité pour voir que la communauté va célébrer la francophonie de notre ville et j'espère qu'on va tous s'amuser ensemble. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur Cyr. Je suis très satisfaite de tous nos événements et je suis certaine que tout le monde va voir qu'est-ce que c'est que la francophonie à Elliot Lake. Merci.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Sear.
Sorry, I'm just going to translate that. I was just thinking, and I was just letting Mrs. Desjardins know that I'm excited that Elliot Lake can celebrate our French heritage in this community at this event, and that hopefully we can all enjoy.
9.6, May 5th, 2015, report from the Chief Building Officer, appointment of new bylaw enforcement officer, and I'm looking around, Mr. Ewald isn't here.
I can read it out
Okay.
if you like.
Sure.
An alternate animal control parking enforcement officer is required to fill in for our current officer during times of illness, vacation, and when away on training. Ms. Irene Durand was the successful applicant. In order for Ms. Durand to assume the duties of animal control parking enforcement officer, an appointment as a municipal bylaw enforcement officer will be necessary to pursue charges under the Provincial Offences Act. And we have included a bylaw on this agenda for council's consideration, but we would appreciate a resolution approving the appointment. Thank you.
Can I have a mover to pass a resolution to appoint Ms. Druin? Councillor Nikiforak, seconded by Councillor Martin. Is there any questions, qualms, queries? If there is none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 9.7, May 11th, 2015, Council brief on waterfront developing, marine mining claims, as this matter deals with the acquisition of property by the municipality and may be discussed in closed session under Section 239 2C of the Municipal Act. Can I have a move to put this to closed session? Or do I need to? Okay. Moved by Councillor Mann, seconded by Councillor Van Roon. Any questions on this matter? None? Okay, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. That's going to closed session. 9.8, May 5th, 2015, report from the Recreation and Culture Committee. The 16th Annual High Rail Leasing and North Shore Challenge Drag Race Contracts. Councillor Nikiforak, if you would please.
Thank you, Your Worship. At the regular meeting of the Recreation and Culture Standing Committee held on Monday, May 5th, 2014, the following resolution was passed. Resolution 17-15, that report RNC 2015-01 of the Manager of Recreation and Culture dated April 28, 2015 be received, and that the City of Elliot Lake enter into an agreement with the North Shore Cruisers Car Club at a cost of $8,500 and Lustville Dragway at a cost of $31,000 plus taxes to host the 16th Annual High Rail Leasing North Shore Challenge Drag Race at the Elliot Lake Airport, and that the agreements be approved. And I so move.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Seer. Any questions, qualms, queries? Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Ms. LaBreche. Again, just to confirm, this is a 3-day event as it was in the last 2 years?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council on this? I have quick questions for you, Ms. LaBreche, if you would please. Is this pricing consistent with the with previous years?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from council? If there is none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried also. 9.9, May 5th, 2015, report from the Recreation and Culture Committee, the Elliot Lake Nuclear and Mining Museum restructuring. Councillor Nikiforak.
Thank you, Your Worship. At the regular meeting of the Recreation and Culture Committee held on Monday, May 5th, 2014, the following resolution was passed. Resolution 20/15, that report RNC 2015-02 of the Manager of Recreation and Culture dated April 29, 2015 be received, and that the City of Elliot Lake Nuclear and Mining Museum operate on a seasonal basis, May long weekend until September long weekend from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. beginning in 2015 with off-season visits available by appointment, and that the Museum Advisory Board be dissolved and absorbed into the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee. And I so move.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Van Roon. Questions, qualms, queries on this? Or a deeper explanation? If you wouldn't, Ms. McFarland.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I've made some notes here. I would like to bring some information to the Council's attention this evening. The Standing Committee has evaluated the museum, and we've had serious discussion about this, and I'm just going to provide you some information with regard to the museum over the past few years so that Council understands that the decisions that we're making here are not being taken lightly this evening, and I'm hoping that it will give us an opportunity to start on a new road with regard to the museum. With regard to the attendance in the past few years, in the year 2000, we had 4,400 people visit the museum. 7 years later, in 2007, we had 2,039. And 7 years later, which is last year, 2014, we had 315 people visit our museum. Significant drop in attendance. Our busiest months during the time that we are having people visit is July and August. And in the last calculations that I had done, this was only showing actually 18 people per day. We're hoping that with the reduced hours to seasonal, we'll be saving 245 hours for summer students, so it'll actually result in a saving of $4,000. The museum curator position is not changing at this time. We're just reducing the museum operating months and the hours. There will still be further discussion at the overall strategic planning process that Council will be having over the next few weeks, and I'm hoping at that time that we'll be able to have a serious discussion with regard to the museum and the relevance to it in the community and our commitment as council to having a museum in the community. The Museum Advisory Board is recommended to be disbanded as the relevance of the museum is questionable based on the number of visitors. It's necessary for the Manager of Recreation and Culture to evaluate her department. Recently, this department changed its name to reflect Recreation and Culture, and the museum would fall under this programming, as does the arts, the entertainment areas, and the special events. These are all part of the overall responsibility of the Recreation and Culture Department. This will also assist in streamlining the internal operations and administration of this department. The museum requires a full evaluation of its role in order for us to be able to plan the functioning of the museum. In 2011, the community was consulted with regard to the delivery of services provided by the city and with regard to the museum itself. And 45% of the respondents at that time believed that there was a need for reduced service levels. The overall cost to operate the museum in 2014 was $135,677, and the revenue that was brought in was $7,644, a shortfall of $128,000. The museum has applied for a museum grant on a yearly basis, which amounts to $13,000. What is now occurring is that the standards to qualify for this grant are being strictly adhered to. In order for us to qualify for this funding, it will now require for the museum to put significant dollars into the facility in order to meet the full operating standards as a museum. So for the application that's due this June, there requires 3 basic areas of information to be provided, and that is 3 months of daily recordings for humidity, temperature, and lux, which is the light quality in the museum, facilities maintenance inspection forms, a signed job description for the curator, along with a detailed strategic plan for the museum that must meet the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport. And the standards are going to continue to require the museum to be operating in the capacity of a fully functioning museum. In speaking with the ministry, we are not meeting the minimum requirements for this year, but they are willing to allow us to have a year of absence from applying for the grant, and this will give us time to reassess the direction and also relevance of the museum in our community. This year will also allow our staff to assess the displays and historical documents and decide on what path we need in order to move forward with this cultural facility. Recently, I attended a library conference in Toronto regarding the future of libraries and how they have changed within our communities. I see the trends in libraries also trending in museums. The way we have functioned as a museum in our community is not serving our residents, and therefore we need to have time to rethink, rejuvenate, and come forward with a new vision for the museum. For this season, our museum curator will be continuing in her current role, and we will continue to man the museum with 2 summer students. The hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week, and off-season, the museum will be available by appointment. The Manager of Recreation and Culture will decide whether additional members may be needed to be added to the Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee, and we will wait for her to evaluate that need. So I present that information here this evening. I, myself personally, really hope that we are able to hit the reset button with regard to the museum and decide on a plan that is going to fit our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nicoforak. Is there any questions from Council in regards to this kind of large change that we're looking at in front of us? Councillor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Nicoforak, for that rundown. There's definitely legitimate concerns with regard to the museum, a number of them that we need to address. What I'm a little bit concerned about is while we have identified a few specific measures, we've not clearly laid out the next steps. For example, the numbers clearly show right now that attendance is declining and poor at best. So the answer provided at this point is to reduce the hours, which I do not disagree with. But we've not spoken to any of the other factors and how they're going to be addressed.
The budget has not been completely reviewed. We've only received a showing of a $4,000 savings with this change. I'm just looking for a proposal that maybe lays out a more clear and focused path to the longer term strategy. I'm just not seeing the flow right now. I'd like to understand the complete plan.
Councillor Nick-Forak.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Councillor Martin, we're hoping to be able to decide that and have a good discussion with regard to the strategic planning for the city itself. When we get together as a council, then we'll have the opportunity to sit down and discuss the operation of the museum and how we as a council see us moving forward with regard to this facility.
I have a question. If there's no other questions from council? Oh, Councillor Reinhardt, sorry.
Just with what Councillor Martin had said, the process has not been abandoned, the one you're talking about. It's being shifted to a committee because it's the perception is that the size of the file has shrunken, where you had thousands before, you have a few hundred. So the work is ongoing, and the Recreation and Culture Committee will take up that work. There are fixed costs to that museum. For instance, the occupancy of the building, it's divided by basically square foot, so there are fixed costs there. We do have people in place and so on, and work can be shifted around. So I think the points you brought up are very important. We have to look at service delivery, a review of that at our strategic planning. We need to look at the relevance of museums. We have our own museum within our community, and the Recreation and Cultural Committee should immediately look at, is there a way to make the museum more relevant? Over the years things do change, and maybe the museum has to change. The location has always been a question, and what's on display is always a question. So there might be another use for museums, but the work has not been abandoned. It will be ongoing.
Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Worship. I guess I'm a little concerned with leaving some of this to the strategic planning session to discuss. And I guess my only other comment for tonight would have been, it would have been nice to have these two broken up into two specific resolutions coming forward tonight. Having the museum on a seasonal basis, again based on attendance, and having the option for off-season appointments or scheduled visits, I have no issue with. But because they're both tied together with the dissolution of the advisory board, I'm not going to be supporting this tonight.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mann. Clapping.
Mr. Mayor, we're losing decorum here. We've had clapping all night. We've had people disagree with things that a councillor says or agrees with what a councillor says. It's not a place where we clap or boo or hiss. We need to get decorum back and get control of this situation.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhardt. Is there any other comments on the museum board? Councillor Van Naan.
I will be supporting the motion as presented. I believe with such few people attending the museum at the moment, it might help alleviate some of Ms. LaBreche's workload in having an additional advisory board to work with, and evenings and the extra time involved. So I support it in its entirety as presented.
Okay. I have a question, Ms. LaBreche, if I could. By tying this into recreation and culture, is this going to help or hinder your workload?
This would help.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Nick-Forak, if you would. I'm
curious what could be possibly we could be looking at over the off season for our museum.
Are you saying with regard to the operation, or could you be more specific here, Mayor?
Well, we're looking at going from all year round to being open only from May long weekend to September long weekend. So that gives us a very good off season. And we do have a museum curator. Is there any idea of what could be done in the museum during that off season?
Well, like I had mentioned before, with regard to the strategic plan, when we sit there, we'll have that discussion. With regard to the museum itself, if we're going to continue on with having a museum, I think that with regard to the council itself, we have to be committed to the museum. And if we're going to be committed to the museum, then we're going to have to start looking seriously at the operation of the museum. And I know that for a number of years, since it's been located in the basement of the museum, of the Civic Center, the question is whether that is the place that it should be. I know that a lot of people don't realize in the community that we even have a museum, and because it's not up front and center. And so I'm hoping that, maybe there might be some partnerships that we could do with some other groups in the community with regard to displays in the museum itself. I know other communities actually take displays from within the museum and put them out into other locations within the community so that you actually have more exposure. So that might be one way of driving more traffic to the museum. So like I say, it's a matter of sitting down and evaluating where we're heading off as a council with regard to the museum and putting a new plan in place, I believe.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Nick. Any other questions, comments, queries on this? Councillor Sear. Thank you, Your Worship. This concerns me, like the slide that the museum has been getting for the last 14 years is definitely something that I don't know if it's been considered seriously enough in the past, and obviously wasting money is in nobody's best interest. I'm not happy about the way this is going, but at the same time we ran an election on providing change, and if we don't change anything, then what did we run for? So I think certain people ran on the fact that this was central to their platform and they did get elected to it, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm ready to support it. Thank you, Councillor Sear. And myself in final comments, I do understand that the whole way the museum operates, and I know from myself putting out surveys on different sites and watching what went on there, we have a lot of people in our community that don't even have any idea that we had a museum. We have people from surrounding communities that have no idea we had a museum. So it's, in order to keep this museum open and operational, we do need to revamp how it's structured, how it's run, how it's operating. That is for sure in my mind. I'm not a big fan of saying goodbye to volunteers in the community, our community members. That's a tough way to go about it. But I do see that the changes could be a positive, and that's all I have to say about that. With that, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of this resolution? Opposed? That's carried. I'd like to thank all the Museum Advisory Board committee members for your hard work that you've done for the museum. It's been very much appreciated. Item number 10, notices of motion 10.1.
May 6, 2015, motion proposed by Councillor Nikiforok, raise City of Elliot Lake flag policy. If you'd read this for us, please, Councillor Nikiforok.
Thank you, Your Worship. Whereas the City of Elliot Lake's flag policy follows the federal government's Canadian Heritage Protocol, which contains the Department of National Defence Protocol, and also follows the Ontario government's protocol, and also the Canadian Legion Protocol. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Elliot Lake has reviewed the current flag policy and will continue to endorse said policy. And I so move.
Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Van Roon. Before we go into full debate on this, I'm going to make a couple of comments, and then I hope to hear from the rest of Council also. It's totally understood that the Canadian Heritage Protocol, how it's defined, defines the history of the Canadian flag, defines how you need to respect the Canadian flag, defines when it must be lowered. It defines how it will be used at federal buildings, including the Peace Tower. But again, nowhere does it define that a municipality cannot adopt their own policy to represent the needs of the community. Same with the Department of National Defence Protocol, the provincial government's protocol, and Legion Protocol. I know they all have their protocols, and I've seen every single one of them break it. Myself being at many different military bases, even though the Department of National Defence does have a protocol, they lower their flags every time a soldier dies. How do I know this? Because I was one of the lucky gentlemen to lower the flag. I'll tell you how much time it takes to get this done. About 3 minutes to go and untie the flag, drop it down half-mast for the day. Sometimes it's for multiple days. What is the cost associated with half-masting the flag? 3 minutes of my time. My question to Council is, are you happy with status quo? Are we going to continue on with status quo? Because I can look at this community over the last many years stepping away from status quo. And that being with the Miners Monument, that being said with members of our own community making the federal government acknowledge Vimy Ridge Day. That being with Elliot Lake being the first and only community to recognize veterans of the Cold War. We've taken these steps away from status quo to go a little bit further beyond. We boast being a retirement community. Let me tell you, there's a lot of retired military members here. There's a lot of family of military members here. I have a lot more to say, but I think I'll save it for the end. I'm going to point out that this council a few weeks ago said that with unity, the council supports with full confidence the mayor. It was a nice resolution, and I appreciate that. I'm going to point out that our current flag policy totally mirrors almost every other municipality's flag policy that actually has a policy. Many of them don't even have a policy, they just follow the Canadian Heritage policy. But one thing I did notice, I was looking through last week many different communities, and I'll point one out because it was my favorite, was the city of Ottawa. Beautiful, very simple. The very end, the flags can be lowered at the direction of the mayor. The city of Toronto, the flag can be lowered at the discretion of the mayor or council. So, if this council doesn't want to amend the policy to lower the flag for every fallen soldier, then I would request that somebody put an amendment to this motion to allow for the discretion of the mayor. And if there is any flack to be taken about lowering the flag, I'll take that flack. With that, I'll allow the rest of council to give us their comments. And I'm going to remind
the gallery right now, that this is not a theater production. Hold your clapping, hold your booing, hold your moaning, and allow council to say their piece, please. I believe Councilor Nikiforek brought forward the motion, so she'll be the first allowed to speak on this.
Great, thank you, Your Worship. The Canadian flag is our national symbol of pride and honor. It is intended position is to fly high and proud. Our flag is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And the Speaker of the Senate at the inauguration of the new flag in 1965 said, and I quote, "The flag is a symbol of the nation's unity. For it, beyond any doubt, represents all the citizens of Canada without distinction of race, language, belief, or opinion." And I unquote that. "We must preserve the dignity and significance of flying the Canadian flag. This is our national symbol, a strong, proud, and free country." The issue of lowering the flag to half-mast to recognize all Canadian Forces personnel killed in the line of duty is not a new debate. Parliament debated this issue in 2008, and an expert panel advised Cabinet to oppose a move to lower the Canadian flag on the Peace Tower whenever Canadians or a soldier dies in Afghanistan, because it would debase the honor of the flag. Bob Butt, the president of the Canadian Legion, was interviewed on CTV, and the Legion endorsed only having the flag come down once during the year, and that was on Remembrance Day in honor of those service people who died protecting our nation. Mr. Butt went on to say that if the flag was lowered to half-mast every time someone dies in the line of duty, it would be up and down and would negate the use of the flag. I have reviewed the protocol for the flying of our Canadian flag. And yes, the flag is administered, and it is only a protocol, through the Canadian Heritage Department. And it's also followed by the province of Ontario. And our municipal flag policy also mirrors the federal and provincial protocols. All the protocols also acknowledge the passing of Canadian Forces personnel. The Department of National Defence protocol for flying the flag at half-mast is contained in the Canadian Heritage Protocol and recognizes members of the Canadian Forces in the event of death. With regard to here in our community, our flag policy recognizes people, residents of Elliot Lake, and I believe that in order to have that respect and grieving for a family, for a co-worker, for a member of the military here within our community, when that flag goes down, that will have significance for us. Having the flag lowered on a regular basis is going to take away the significance of that flag flying high and mighty for us, and that I'm not prepared to be that community that's standing out alone on its own and not discard but not follow the federal protocol. And that's the federal protocol is our national heritage. That's our national symbol, and I'm not a person who's willing to step aside from that and say we're going to go it alone as a municipality. Those protocols are established by our federal government, and I will respect that, and I will continue supporting our flag policy as it stands. Thank you.
Councillor Steer. Thank you, Worship. The reason that I moved the motion on that last council meeting was, in the past, Elliot Lake was a leader. When Elliot Lake developed the retirement living program, it did so when nobody else was doing that. Just because other communities aren't doing it doesn't mean that we shouldn't consider it or think about it. We're not a typical community of Canada. We never were, and we probably will never be so. I think that there's nothing wrong with us saying that we want to be different, we dare to be different, we're Elliot Lake. And to me, we should take advantage of recognizing the fact that we have so many retired military personnel here, that this issue is a sensitive thing for them. Why not take that in consideration, or at least give the council the discretion? I think we have to at least take the time to consider it, and we have to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sear. Any other councillors want to make their voice be heard on this? Councillor Van Roon?
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue of lowering the Canadian flag to half-mast each time a Canadian soldier is killed is an emotive issue. As an elected official, it would be irresponsible for me to be making decisions that affect a multi-million-dollar corporation based on emotion. Elliot Lake's current flag policy regarding half-masting mirrors federal government's policy as it should. In the Canadian Forces, the half-masting policy is as follows. In the event of the death of a member of the Canadian Forces who is deployed on operations to a special duty area, unless special instructions are received, flags will be half-masted as follows. Only within the task force to which a member is assigned, from the day of death to the sunset on the day of the funeral. Only flags at the home base or station of the member, from the day of death to sunset on the day of the funeral. Flags only within the environment, meaning Army, Navy, or Air, to which the member was assigned, from sunrise to sunset on the day of the funeral. Flags at National Defense Headquarters and at the headquarters of the Operational Command, to which a member is assigned, from sunrise to sunset on the day of the funeral. My family and extended family has for generations been involved in the military. I'm a proud member of the Legion, and I also have many family members who are Legion members. I'm not willing, as a counselor, to make a decision that says we are more patriotic than the Legion. We are more patriotic than the federal government. We are more patriotic than the national defense. This is an issue. It warms my heart to see the troops so cared for in our community. It really does. But this is an issue that needs to go to our federal government. Thank you.
Councillor Reiner.
Thank you. I think there's two issues here. And they're two very distinct issues, and we're debating one here tonight. When Councillor Nikiforuk told me she intended to bring this issue forward, I encouraged her not to. I told her it was debated, not here, it was debated in committee for a long time. And I think all the good arguments were brought out, and the decision was made, and it came here, and there was nobody to second it. And I think what she said next was that it was because of the controversy in town that there was a need to clarify. I didn't agree with that at the time, but tonight I have a change of heart. I do agree that I'd like to thank Councillor Nikiforuk for bringing it forward. I think it's a very brave move. We knew what would happen here tonight, and I agree with Councillor Van Roon. This is a very emotional issue, but I'd like to chop it in two. The flag, I think itself, the rules and protocols are clear. It is not up to us to go out freelancing with the Canadian flag. It's not for us to do. It'd be a mistake to do it. That's my opinion. And the other half of the issue is about the patriotism of members of this council. It's a totally separate issue. And I had a foot in two worlds tonight, one in the angry world and one in the very sad world. that people of this community would come and stand here before us tonight and chop us up in pieces, claiming that we lack patriotism. That's sad. And to suggest that members of this, certain members of this council not be invited to some ceremony it makes me sad to hear that. It's the wrong approach to building unity. This issue is tearing us apart. We've got a lot of things to do, and we can't do it if we're torn in pieces. Everybody's got a war story. Their father, their grandfather. I have a war story. My grandfather was thrown in jail and allowed to clean toilets and work in the kitchen because when he volunteered for the First World War, because his name was Reinhardt and his father had emigrated to England from Sweden, and somebody in the Defense Department in Britain thought there was a chance that he was an agent of the Kaiser, his patriotism was questioned. And if somebody stand here tonight and suggests that any member of this council lacks patriotism, it's way out of bounds. It's way beyond the pale. It has nothing to do with this flag issue. It's an attack on people. I have no question about anybody's patriotism here. And I want that out there, and I think every member of this council is patriotic. And I'd like to stick with our flag policy because it mirrors, as it has been said here tonight, it mirrors the policy of the military and the government and the Legion. And when the Legion and the government and the military decide that there's going to be a change in protocol, then we should follow suit, because it is not our flag, it's the flag of Canada. It belongs to everybody in Canada. So I will support sticking with our flag policy as it stands.
Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Worship. I thought I could probably get through this quite calmly until Mr. Hache brought my father into it earlier, so I'll see if I can get through this. It has been a very divisive issue. I think one of which I've now sat through at least 4 times. Twice last term of council and now twice so far in this term. As I told many people who called me and asked my rationale for supporting the previous policy, and I was very honest with them. I was very honest with everyone. And again, my father was a veteran of the Korean War. So a couple people took a pretty hard shot at me personally for my decision, and I respect that. We're all entitled to our own opinion, and I respect everybody for their opinions. My rationale for supporting our existing policy is in no way disrespectful of any fallen soldier that does not have a direct tie to this community, and I want to make that very clear. I think our current policy, and it had been debated previous to tonight, I support the current policy. If there is an opportunity for change of this policy, I would agree with Councillor Sear to have an opportunity to allow council to have the discretion at some point, because there will be events, unfortunately, in our upcoming, in the future, that will not fit this policy, and this community should have an opportunity or a venue or a method in which to lower the flag to recognize events or catastrophic events that occur that affect not only our community but our nation as well. It's been talked about at length. It is in no way disrespectful of anyone, but I still believe that our current policy is respectful for those individuals with a direct tie to our community. and I will still support it. Thank you.
Councillor Martin?
Thank you. When the original motion to amend the policy was introduced, my action was positive. I thought, why not take this extra measure to recognize all soldiers that have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms? I then attended the committee meeting, and I appreciated the discussion that took place, as it opened my eyes to realize that my initial reaction was emotional and did not consider the roots of such policies. At that point, I stepped back and researched half-masting and flag policies in general. I spent hours reviewing policies and considered multiple levels of government and organizations in my review. After this research, it became clear that consideration must be made for the bigger picture, in the sense that the specifics of these policies are established within a higher level of standards in order to protect the symbolism of the flag, including half-masting. We share the Canadian flag with all of Canada, and therefore we share ownership of certain particulars within our flag policy with all of Canada. These particulars around half-masting indicate that at our level we recognize community-based losses. An overall display of respect for all soldiers is done countrywide on the National Day of Mourning, November 11th. This issue has been debated in the past, and a reasoned etiquette has been established. The community-based qualifier is also in place for other half-masting provisions, such as a firefighter or police officer. In some cases, a movement to go above and beyond is inappropriate, and although meant as a genuine sign of respect, it would also serve as a form of disrespect to the established standards around flag policies. I realize this is an emotional issue. I hope I've touched on some objective points to help explain my reasoning, which was well-intentioned.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Oh my. Myself, I've only been back in Elliot Lake for 3 years. March of this year, Sergeant Andrew Doran was killed overseas, and my immediate reaction was our flag should be going to half-mast. This young soldier protecting our rights and freedoms, keeping us proud and strong and free, made the ultimate sacrifice for us. Then I was notified that we have a policy that basically would restrict myself from half-masting. Being in so many other communities that over a 10-year period that were either near bases or were bases, again, even though there's protocol, the flag was always half-mast. Any soldier that was killed, the flag was put to half-mast. They knew there was protocol, it was discussed at the regimental level over and over again, but the flag was still put at half-mast. Why? Because politicians make policies. Politicians don't take bullets on soil abroad protecting our rights and freedoms. Less than 1% of our population will volunteer to become a member of the military. Half of those will drop out within the first 3 months. Not a single soldier that leaves our soil does it because he has to. You don't have to go on that tour. They choose to. Why? To keep us safe. We go downtown, go shopping, we feel safe. We go to church, doesn't matter which church in Canada you go to, you feel safe. You feel safe enough when you crawl in your bed and you can sleep like a baby for 8 hours, even more. Why do we feel safe? Because of these brave young men and women that go over, knowing that ultimately they may not come home to their wives, their husbands, and their children. Myself, Yes, I'm emotionally involved. I've buried many comrades and many more friends. So yes, I'm emotionally involved. I've had to explain to a close friend of mine, had to explain to his children why they would never see their father again. Even though his wife begged him not to go, he went. He wasn't only their hero, he was my hero at that moment. All of us in this room get to enjoy the freedoms of democracy, the freedoms of safety, and the freedoms to love our own families and children and religion. Why? Because of our soldiers. It's not a difficult task to respect them when they die. And again, yes, there is protocol, but many other communities do half-mass. I'm not sure how many on council here have lived abroad, but they do. Toronto does it for every soldier. Ottawa does it for every soldier. Petawawa, Pembroke, Deep River, Renfrew. Yeah, Gagetown, Waterloo, Fredericton. They half-mast for the soldiers regardless of which community they come from. Why do they do this? We have police that protect your community, and I respect them and love them. We have firefighters that respect, that keep us safe, put out fires, take care of the community, and I love them for that. Our soldiers, they're not just protecting our community. They're not going over to fight for Elliot Lake. They're not going over to fight for Sudbury. They're not going over to fight for North Bay. They're going over to protect us all, from St. John, Newfoundland to Victoria, BC. It does not matter where they come from. They leave their homes, they go to training on one base, they go to training on another base. They live on a base in one area for 2 years and they move to another base for another 5 years, knowing the whole time that they could die because of this. And again, it goes back to policy, and I know back in 2004, Jean Chrétien was pushing to have the policy changed. I believe actually he did change it, and it was changed back. As soon as he was gone, that they would acknowledge every troop that died at the Peace Tower. How many troops have we lost? Since 2002, 158. That's 158 times that the flag would have had to be half-mast in the last 13 years. Not a whole lot to ask for your life. I don't know what more to say. I was hoping that somebody here would put forward a motion, as many other communities have, to leave the flag half-mast into the discretion of the mayor. Ours at the moment is at the discretion of council. Unfortunately, in many times of need, not all of council can be contacted immediately. And again, we recognize miners at our cenotaph, our Miners Memorial. We recognize miners from around the world. It's hard to believe that it's not okay to recognize a soldier that dies keeping us safe at night. With that, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Number 11, other business, check rate number 042315-1. Lost those where we were. Can I have a motion to remove check number 63372, 71890, and 63452 from the check rate? Moved by Councillor Martin. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Van Loon, all in favor? That has been removed. Can I have a motion to receive the same check rate and check numbers? Councillor McFarland, seconded by Councillor Martin. All in favor? That's carried also. Back to the original check rate. Check number 042315-1. I have a motion to receive. Councillor Van Roon, second by Councillor Martin. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Sorry, I'll read off a couple of the big ticket items here. BCF fund being given to Elmos for distribution, $741,684.66. Green Shield Canada, Health and Dental, $36,000. Minister of Finance, Municipal Policing, $255,242. Owners, $37,760. Receiver General for Canada, $76,114. And that's all the big ones. 12, bylaws. 12.1, bylaw number 15-28, being a bylaw to appoint municipal law enforcement officer. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Mann, seconded by Councillor Martin. All in favor? That's carried. 12.2, bylaw number 15-29, being a bylaw to authorize, seconded by Councillor Seer. All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw number 15-30, being a bylaw to authorize an agreement with Westville Dragway Company Limited for facilitation and provision of equipment, services, and personnel for the drag race event. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Seer, seconded by Councillor Van Roon. All in favor? That's carried also. What was that? Is that it for bylaws? Is that for bylaws? So I got that. I thought I was missing something here. Okay, I'm not missing anything. 13, addendum, there is none. 14, closed session business. Can I have a mover to go into closed session? Moved by Councillor Van Roon, seconded by Councillor Seer. Any questions, quorums, queries? If there is none, all in favor? We're now going into closed session.